Okay, I have a feeling that some people, when I wrapped electrical tape around my output transformer, were probably saying, oh, why did you do that? And I decided I didn't like that either, so I'm going to try to find a zip tie. The reason I decided to not leave it like that was because I know what electrical tape does over time. The adhesive oozes out, it's just a pain, and it's a mess, and then if you have to get at something or do something, it's just annoying. And I'm hoping I don't have to do anything more with this, I mean, other than maybe the rubber drive parts, but that's not going to reach, are you? No. So let's see here. What do I have? I got too many things. And oh, come back here. Let's see. Maybe this will work. I don't know. This might reach. Let's see if you'll go. Yeah, this should do it. Yes. So I decided I would just use a zip tie, which is probably what I should have done in the first place, but I don't know. Now, others may see this as being somewhat anal. Well, I will own that because I tend to be sometimes drive myself crazy. Of course, it's probably a short trip. Alright, let's see here. Just wait that to go a little tighter. Okay. So, I'm happy now that I have that revised. That's not going to work, is it? No. And that will do. Alright, I'm blocking the camera on a regular basis, I see. I don't know, some people put the camera in front of themselves and operate that way. I don't think I should do that. There's a very, very, very good chance I'll just keep whacking the camera and just drive me crazy. So instead, I guess I just block a few from time to time. Let's see. So anyhow, I think that will, first of all, last a lot longer than the. It'll last a lot longer, be a lot less messy. Still accomplishing job protecting that part right there. And I'm thinking, you know, yeah, if the wires broke loose, I could cut into it. No, it's just, yeah, maybe I could fix it. I've done a lot of things like that. I've managed to succeed at doing that. But if I don't have to, if I can make provisions to avoid doing that, it would be better. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to flip this on its side. And we are going to put this case up here, because this is the side that I have to come in on. And let's see, slide you in here. I have to be able to get there. Okay. So, how am I going to do this so that you can actually see? Back it out first of all. Alright. One of the things I did, I figured out, and it probably doesn't matter, because both speakers are the same. Where are we? Oh, we're not in the right spot. There's where we are. And I hate that my camera. I marked one of these leads because it does have on the speaker a polarity. Does it matter? Probably not. But so I put a black mark, but I put a black mark on the side that goes to the grounded side of the speaker jack. and I don't know if it will make any difference at all. Probably not. Let's see here. I'll go in that way, I guess. Of course, you can't see what I'm doing, but hey, we'll get there eventually. And let's see here. Get back out, and all right. So what's going to happen is, slide this in here. I think. Oh, yes. There we go. All right. There. Handle. Okay, so it's in now. Here's what's interesting. I've never fully understood why they did that, but they have spacers. Lots of spacers, it would seem. And I'm hoping I don't wind up having to pull this out again. That camera's on the wrong side of my workbench, I'm afraid. I keep standing in front of it. Okay. These are U-shaped spacers that are that came from inside of this cardboard. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so there's 2, 4, 6, there's 8 of these, and so obviously since there's 4 holes, I guess that tells me what I need to do. Now, there we go. Of course, I'm kind of wondering if the bottom's going to behave. I don't remember. I'm assuming there were screws on there. I'm thinking I took them out. I didn't review my video to see if I did or not. So, we'll just have to see. One of the interesting things about this is these pulleys, there's nothing that holds them in. If I wanted to, I could just pull this right straight up and out. The only thing that holds these things in is the top panel. That's it. I thought that was kind of odd, but that's how they did it. Oh, by the way, I originally thought that, because there's tubes underneath, and there's tubes over here on the side. There's 3 here and 2 here. And I originally thought, well, I saw this access panel. I said, well, you can only get to those 3 tubes. What about the bottom? I didn't look at the bottom. But there it is. There's your access to your tubes. It's rather interesting. Yeah, you can get in there, but they could have lined that up a little bit better. Because what they did was, you get one tube here, you get one over here, which means that you take this cover off, you get your hand in there, you take the front tube out, and you really hope that you can get to the back tube, you don't drop it, and it's just, it doesn't really seem like a lot of fun, let's put it that way. So I have 4 screws, I have 4 of these things. Let's see, how well do we do? Ooh, is that going to go in? Yes. One of the other things is, this sucker is heavy, and one of the things you may see is the feet on this thing. Well, all the way back. Okay, let's move this back some more. The feet on this thing are gone. I'll have to look around and see if I have any that I kept from something else. That way the screw heads aren't tearing things up. Ooh, nice little pop. I don't know if you can see my Webcor thingy on the bottom. Serial number, model number. Thankfully that was there, although it didn't help me much actually, because the information on this thing is scarce, as I've mentioned before. So, alright. So the next thing I've got to do is I didn't clean my top cover yet. Guess it wouldn't hurt to. Now, one of the things that I found rather interesting, which all you're seeing is that. I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit. For the best results, use Webcor tape. I don't think this thing has ever, well, never since we've owned it, because there's not a Webcor tape to be found anywhere in my collection. Oh, don't forget. Now, one of the other rules I have is that you check things before you lock everything down together. So, now I did just have this working, so I'm assuming everything's okay, but I'm thinking that I want to follow my own guidelines of checking things before you finish. Well, there we go. Okay. Before I go through and put everything together, it doesn't. I guess it's all scuffed. That's my problem. It's not dirty. It's just kind of beat up. I guess if you're 60 years old, you have a right to be a little beat up. So I'm going to. I have no idea which way this tape was in there, but hey, it plays either way. So we're going to do a quick check. Oh, yes, and I got to slide that. Let's go. We have to slide that panel in the back if I want to get into this. So let's see here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give my cheater cord back out. I'm do that. Right. Now let's see. There you are. Well, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not. All right. That. Isolation transformer. Let's warm up a bit. Put my pole on. Okay, well, the problem was with me. When I was taking the screws out of the circuit board and putting the washers under the screws and putting them back again, I took one of the tubes out. The only problem was I didn't remember to put the tube back. So all I had making noises was the audio output circuit. There wasn't anything else going on there because the tube for the input section was not there. Is this unplugged again? Oh, power. Gotta have power. Shocking. Okay, there. I don't remember which way is which. Okay, that was, I finally figured out, that was recording taken off from a local radio station, local college radio station, WRPI. I have no idea when that was done, a long time ago, I'm thinking. So I haven't made tape recordings, and I don't even know. I don't know if that's just this guy's own music or what. But if it is copyrighted music, YouTube will find it. Okay, so now I think I'm safe enough to put this back together. Oh, where did I put that? Like this. I have, not that. Organization is not my strong suit, apparently. Let's see. There is my cover. Like a cover that goes here and then here. And as I recall, I have screws on those. Managed to put things around. I don't need to wait. Okay. Well, I have a rule that I just violated again. I tightened all the screws down, thinking that I didn't have to worry about it doing it on this part of the thing. And I did have to worry about it because the screws on the top for this panel do not align properly. And so now I'm going to have to, I'm kind of wondering also if I'm going to have to, ooh, it's starting to line up. I'm kind of wondering if I have to move this, because also front to back there seems to be a little gap there. Get this off and see what we got. It seems like that's where that lives normally. Come back here. Okay. So, if you ever take one of these apart, the 4 screws on the sides, the 4 screws on the bottom, don't tighten them up until you get this back in place. If you do tighten them up, you'll wind up doing what I just did. And that is going back and loosening up all of those screws so that you can get this to line up. And it's kind of important that this lines up, because the 2 holes that were not lining up were here and here. They're hiding under this. And so you really don't want those out of whack, because but plainly it's a pain in the neck. There's little blocks that go, you got these little guys, and they go in here. But last time when I went to take the screws out of that plastic piece, back here, the screw unscrewed the little square, and I spent a few minutes trying to figure out why I couldn't get it out as I was spinning and spinning and spinning it. I spun it enough finally so that the block came out and everything came off, but it kind of surprised me. And that seems like that's a little snug. Let me see. Let's check this out. No. Oh, that might be alright. Okay. This doesn't have to go in that far. Alright, so we're going to do this. Try to get it tighter this time so that hopefully the screw comes out of the plastic cover. No, stop doing that. The screw comes out of the plastic cover instead of unscrewing the whole thing from the machine first. Okay. No. We got one more that has to line up. That's down there and it's not lining up. Okay. There we are. Let's see, here we are. The hardware for this thing is kind of rusty. I'm not sure when this, this dampness occurred, because I don't recall storing it anyplace damp, but again, I've had this longer than I can remember, so it's possible that somewhere over the last 30 years it was not stored in a good place. Let's clean this up a little bit. Alright, now I think those are the only things I have to worry about aligning at the moment. And let's see, okay, those three, I can tighten those up. Alright. Now at the beginning of this video, I had these little guys, and I made sure to make a mental note of where those lived, so that I would know where they're supposed to be. So now, let's see, put this on. If you forget to put those spacers in, and you go torque happy on those long screws trying to get them to tighten up, what you will do is break your plastic cover. So don't do that. Alright. Okay, so I got one more plastic panel to put here. Let's see here. Nothing I can do to clean up those screw heads, but alright, fine, do that way. And one more screw. Screwdriver is just a wee bit large for that screw, but it fits well enough to tighten them properly. to be nice to that. It's be gentle with that. Okay, now, I think pretty much the last thing I have to do, the last thing I have to do is put the rear cover on. Oh. And clean up my controls, my knobs. This is definitely an indicator of moisture. Everything's all gone. Where am I? It's all white. And, well, anyway. There it is. Okay. So the last thing I have to do is put the rear panel on. And then do a final test. Oh, aha! Reminder to self. Check these screws. And they were loose, of course. And I'm giving you a great picture of my backside. You have to remember to tighten the screws that you loosened to make things fit. Yeah, let's see. So I'm going to flip it this way. So I got to put that rear panel on. Yep. Oh, and my knobbies. Forgot about my knobs. Alright. Okay. So, what I have to do is tighten up these screws. I'll do my screwdriver, I just had my hand there. Now, I know this thing needs new Tolex, it needs more cleaning. These feet, which I think, I don't know if I have any kicking around or not. So the last piece, the last thing I have to do, put it back where it belongs. There. I was just thinking that I'm wondering if back when I was single if I would have bothered cleaning like this. I might have. Then again, I might not have. I know one thing I learned about being married for many years. Women like to clean. Alright, let's see. Now I'll start with this, see if it will go far. That works. Now, oh, okay. I'm rereading this label. For stereo radio recorders only. Well, this is a mono recorder. Got me a little puzzled. To replace tubes that don't remove knobs, expressions, top plate, screws from the sides, bottom of the case, lift unit from case. Now, what I can see why they have the connector going up or going down like that, going into this. Because when you pull it straight up out of the case and then you just drop it back in, I guess it makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that this is clearly not a stereo. So, is it the original panel for this tape recorder? Is it a replacement? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. It tells me to replace tubes, remove this grill. Now it says to replace tubes in the front section. And they tell you to go through all this stuff. This doesn't look like the right knob or right cover for this, because if you go underneath this thing, there's another vent panel that you can take off, and that gives you access to those other tubes, as I was mentioning earlier. So I'm more than a little bit puzzled by this, because this really appears to be a panel from a different recorder. I have no idea how, why, or when that happened. Okay, so now this uses this style cord. If you misplace this cord, you might have fun trying to find another one. What's kind of nice is that this cord coils up inside the cover, which is actually over there, and so theoretically you shouldn't lose it, but we know how those things happen. Some people are not careful and misplace things. Hell, I've been guilty of losing things that I have no idea how I lose. Now I think I'm done with this. I think I'll just plug it back in to regular power. On or off, on, tone. Off, on, okay. Another tape. Let's see if I can find something that's better sounding perhaps. And I'll be back. Okay, this is what happens when you get lazy. Now hiding in the back there is my oscilloscope. Out front I have the leads attached to the tweeter speaker of the pair of speakers that are in this thing. Here we have the old, and I didn't look at this very closely or I would have replaced this automatically. See the ends blowing out of it? This is a capacitor I took out of a crossover. This is 2.2 microfarad. This is 2 microfarad. Right now, the oscilloscope is showing you the output from this. Let's see what we get when we go to this. And it's nowhere near. It's plain junk. It was a mistake to ignore that capacitor. So I will replace it, and hopefully that will improve matters. I kept thinking that this had good bottom end, but the high end was a little bit lacking. And I said, I know it's got a crossover in there, and I thought about that capacitor and said, well, why didn't I check that? Because I should have, and clearly I should have. So, okay, well, I really should have checked this out before I put this all back together. It was not very smart, I admit. I have a signal or function generator generating audio tone. Now I've checked this. I used my VLM, and I used another tester, this thing, and both say the same thing. The sucker is open. This should be making a tone right now. In fact, let me show you. Voila, tone. So, moral of that story is, don't cut corners, don't be lazy, check things out. At least take a quick look at things. I didn't even do that. I don't know what my problem was. But, so anyway, I will be replacing that capacitor. Fortunately, I can do it without taking this all apart. I'm grateful for that much. Okay. It made a huge difference in how this sounds. So let me see if I remember which way we're going here. Hit the beat now. So, you can hear the highs now. It's not as muddy and muffled. The thing that tripped me or tipped me off to this was I could hear that it sounded like a decent recording, because you know some of these recordings are pretty crappy, and I don't know how this may have been done with the mic, but the quality was fairly decent, and I could tell that it had a clean bottom end, good middle, but the highs didn't sound right to me. So I thought, why would that be? And of course I immediately thought of this capacitor that I had not checked in here. And sure enough, it's a dead capacitor. So, live and learn. Okay, I've got the cover off again. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this. There are three problems that I have to deal with, that I need to deal with. One is the brakes on this thing were non-existent. Reel-to-reel tape players need brakes, because if they don't, if you come at a fast forward or rewind and you stop it, the tape will just all unspool and go all over the place, which is obviously not what you want. The other thing I had to deal with was there's a rubber drive tire under here. It's really weird. It felt like it was soft enough, but it had aged enough so that the metal drive roller that sits on top of the motor that handles driving fast forward and rewind also handles when it's playing. It drives the pickup pulley, whether it's this side or this side. That metal roller was skidding or sliding or slipping rather. That metal roller, I'll show that to you in a minute, was slipping on the metal tire on the bottom of this. And I knew it was only a matter of time before it wore that rubber tire down to a point where it would no longer work. It meant that this unit would no longer be usable. So I had to come up with a solution for that. Inside of each of these hubs is a slip clutch. This one was not working well at all. So I needed to deal with that as well. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you, let me put that up here, and I'm going to do this. So what I want to do is take this off. Now I don't know, yes, okay, so this is actually the shaft that goes down through the drive motor. There's one here and there's one over here. And it's got two speeds. It's got this smaller roller and it's got this larger roller. And I'm looking at that and I can actually see, man, that thing is all scored. I can see bits of rubber on there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I can't tell from here. But there's bits of rubber on this. It's not happy, to say the least. So, those are three things I need to deal with. I'm going to show you insert a brief clip of me working on the clutch because I had to take this apart, and it's pretty amazing how they built this. Okay, so pretty amazing. And this is an indicator of how, well, it shows you how things were made. This is the clutch. Oh, where am I? I gotta show where I am. Alright, so this is the clutch. It's got this heavy, fairly, well, kind of a springy clutch, a spring there. It's got this. It's got this thing with two little notches in it that these fingers on the metal plate go into. Cooperate with you. Alright. And then, well, except I'm not in there quite right, am I? Well, get in there. I have a feeling at some point in this life, this got greased. There are indications of that. And the spring tension and the friction of that material provides supposedly just enough slip so that you won't over tension the tape, but at the same time give enough give so that the tape, or so that it won't that it will drive the reel-to-reel, or the reel, the take-up reel. So I had to come up with a solution for this slipping clutch, and I tried several different things, and unfortunately my first attempt did not work very well, because I tried using this felt, which is actually a plastic material. I thought this was I thought this might have been made out of cotton, but as I explored this, it seems like it's more likely that it was made out of wool. And I went looking around to see if I could find something that I could use to replace this, and they just don't give you enough information to help you figure out what you need, or whether what they're selling is what you need. So so I was kind of at a loss, because putting a piece of this stuff, one piece on either side of this, a piece of this on either side of this, two here stuck together, didn't work. This stuff is way too slippery. It's a plastic material, so just too slick. So then I had kind of wrapped up with this, and I had pretty much decided that I was stuck, which left me kind of unhappy. But I decided I couldn't leave it there. I had to see if I could figure out what was wrong. Well, I kept going through, and I kept looking at things. I started going step by step, and as I was looking at things, I noticed something. And I hadn't paid enough attention to this, but this shaft right here, when I really looked at it, there was a lot of rust and crud in here, and especially up here on the top. So what I did was, I cleaned it up thoroughly. I sanded this top part because it was definitely rusty, and this is where there's a bushing in the top part of this. Up in here there's a bushing. I don't know how far up in here, but somewhere in the top of this thing there's a small bushing that fits this. That had to be a lot of fun to assemble and remount, but anyway. There was a lot of garbage up here. It wasn't... Now, it seemed like this was spinning okay, but once I cleaned it up and put fresh grease in there, it spun a lot easier. And both of them needed that work to be done to it. So once I did that, it actually improved things a little bit. I also discovered that I had forgotten to lubricate the top bearing in this motor. So I lubricated both of these. That helped a little bit. Then when I was, so then what you see here is, you see this is actually cork material. You can see it's definitely wearing a bit. I have no idea how long this will work. This is a mixture of cork with a little bit of rubber in it, and this is actually cork gasket material that you can buy at an auto parts store. So I wasn't happy with the felt, because the felt was made of the same material as this is, and while it worked, I wasn't happy with how it worked. And one of the things you have to worry about when you're dealing with the brakes on a reel-to-reel is you need some freedom of motion, because when you're mounting the reels and you're routing tape and getting the reel set up and ready to play, you need some ability to move these. So you don't really want a rubber brake here, because then it will lock the pulley and it won't move. And the rubber material I had, which was this this material here, and this is the material that I put on the bottom of this. I keep forgetting where my camera is. Can get tacky. In fact, it is. I can feel it when I touch it. It's tacky a bit. I've been playing this a bit, and it's not tearing up. It's looking good. I imagine as it ages, it will not be as tacky, but I'm not worried about that, because this is fairly durable stuff. So this was my solution for and I may have well, this video was an attempt to merge together a whole bunch of time I spent videoing and trying different things. And you'll notice that there's an angled cut here. And that was my attempt to prevent this from being bumpy. And this seems to actually work pretty well. I may, if I'm not happy with it, I may angle that cut more. I'll put a new piece on here and I'll angle it more. But it seems like it's working okay. So problem one, this rubber roller wearing down and stopping or failing to work anymore, that was solved by using this rubber splicing tape. And it was designed for something else, but it works well in this application. So there was that. So step by step I was finding and fixing problems. So as I started to say, I replaced the felt with this cork. Now originally I had a piece of this material wrapped around here underneath the cork, and on this side that didn't give this pulley or this hub enough clearance, so that when I put it there, for some reason these don't move the same amount in each direction. I don't really know why, but so there's very little clearance here. So having this extra rubber piece in there wasn't going to work. And I tried tweaking it and adjusting it. I didn't want to go crazy and bend it. It would be my luck that I would flex it too much and something would break. This is 60 years old after all. And there's something well, anyway, I just didn't want to take that risk. So I took the extra piece of rubber out, glued this on. It's now working. I still had to tweak this a little bit. But I discovered that, now remember, this clutch over here was not working right, and when I got more tape over here it would slow down. Even after I got the clutch working a lot better, it was still doing that, and I tracked the problem down to this. I've discovered that this just wasn't clearing enough, and it's just putting enough friction on here that this clutch couldn't handle it. Everything about this drive mechanism is designed to a specification. It's almost like this minimum specification, because these motors are just strong enough to do the job if everything is right. And you know, the clutches, those have to have a specific amount of resistance so that you can have enough friction to do a fast forward or rewind, but at the same time that clutch has to slip enough that it's not overly tensioning the tape, because that would be bad, because then you would wind up breaking your recording tape. So that was a specific bit of that was a specification that they had to meet, that just enough tension without too much. And I think, based on my testing, that the cork that I put inside this clutch is working okay. Those two pieces of cork together are probably about the thickness of this, and this has been worn and it's compressed, so this is thinner than it used to be. Although I'm feeling like it's got a that doesn't help either. This center part has swollen. I mentioned that this had somehow grease got into it, but I think something got into this and caused this to swell. I don't have this apart, but I have a feeling that that center hub, this part here, was pushing out on the clutch assembly and keeping this from having full friction. Oops. Having this part probably was not getting the benefit of the spring tension in the clutch, so that was probably helping it slip. Regardless, I had to go with the cork to see if that would work. These are pieces of cork gasket material you can get in the auto parts store. And so I put this in there with these like that, one on either side. Unfortunately, that made it too fat, because this hub has to have there's a snap ring here and some other washers, and there just wasn't room for everything. So I took that out, and now I've decided I'm going to try just these two pieces of cork material. And I'm trying this because it looks like putting cork on my brake simply might do the trick. So, come on. There we go. So, get in there. Well, come on. There we go. And we got that. Oh, and I got to do this. So, I keep forgetting to get this ready in advance, so I don't have to do this. Having snap ring pliers is so much easier than doing it the way I've done it in the past, which is 2 screwdrivers, and when necessary put things in a vise and then use the 2 screwdrivers. So I've tried to go step by step. I get one thing working. So I put this on first, on this side, and I discovered that once I did that, and the rubber roller was no longer slipping on this metal roller, that's when I realized, and I could see now, that the clutch itself was not behaving. So then I fixed the clutch. But actually, before I got to this, I also realized that this needed to be cleaned, and there was a lot of garbage inside that thing. That's just a little bit of what I pulled out of the inside of that thing. So So it's been step by step that I've gone to try to. I tried something, and in the case of this rubber tire, it worked, but then it revealed another problem. So then I worked on that, and I tried a variety of different things. I decided to try this. Actually, I put this against the metal plate on the top. The adhesive would hold this in place, which meant that this felt would not slide on this. So the only place it would be slipping would be on the bottom. That did improve it, but it was not enough. It just didn't do the job. So, like I said, you go step by step. You try to see what you try something. Because one of the problems that you're dealing with this old vintage stuff is things are not available. I have a Panasonic, an R1011L stereo tape recorder, reel-to-reel, and nice unit, very nice. And I did a search for parts for that, and it pointed me to the Pioneer website. And I said, oh, maybe they still have them. And I got to the website, and they said, this page is no longer available. So a lot of this vintage stuff, it's going to be problematic to try to find the parts you need, which is what I'm dealing with here. Try to find anything on this Webcor. It's just not. This is a model EP2911-1. Try to find any information on that. Anything. A circuit diagram, anything. I finally found the circuit diagram in the case of this, which is actually down there. Unfortunately, they positioned the circuit diagram underneath the metal support frame, and moisture got in there and caused some rust, so part of the circuit diagram is less than great. But anyhow, I'm wandering far afield. So, where am I heading? Okay, so at this point I've cleaned the inside of these. Oops, don't do that. And greased them. I've replaced the clutch in this with cork, and I've replaced this on both tires on both of these with this rubber tape. And I've really come down to the end with this because let's do that. Okay, I believe I've come down to the end of the line with this as far as the work I wanted to do to it. This thing is working really well. Where am I going to go? Oh, I want to grease that too while I'm in here. I went through this when I was putting this back together, and I thought I'd pretty much gotten everything where I wanted it to be. This is Tri-Flow, and I tried to use this on other things that I was working on, and it turns out this is just a bit too thick, because on some things, while it lubricates very well, it's just too thick, and the things that I was using it on really very badly needed a much lighter weight lubrication. So I'm still on the hunt for something. I'm kind of looking into, I haven't done it, I should just go ahead and try it. I should order it and try it. I'm kind of leaning toward, yeah, okay. This, by the way, is the speed control, and all it does is, yeah, I didn't really pay attention to this. Let me just take this off for a minute, because I want to show you, since I'm in here rambling. All right. Okay, I want to show you a little bit how this works. By the way, this is a good sized flywheel that this thing has. This is the capstan. No skinny little rod sticking up out. It's got this big pulley. pretty large capstan. It's got this large rubber capstan bench roller. So anyway, so how this thing works, you've got two metal rollers. My brain went blank for a minute. You've got two metal rollers here. This bottom one is always used when you're fast forwarding and rewinding. It is also used for the for the 7.5 inch speed. This one is used when you're running at 3 3/4. And how that works is, so if I put this on, oops. Well, I'm wrong about that. I lied. This very top pulley is your 3 3/4. Then do this, and I have a screwdriver somewhere. What's in my hand? Duh. Alright. Now. Oops. So now, alright, yes. So so we actually have three different size rollers on this shaft. This is the shaft for the drive motor. It's direct drive. The motor sits right here. In fact, this is the shaft from the motor. This piece here is pressed onto the motor shaft. So anyway, so this is your 7.5, and this is your 3 3/4, and this gives you some idea of the vintage of this thing, that you have to use a screwdriver or coin or something to change the speed. Back in when this was built, somewhere around 1960, I guess they didn't think about people needing to have more convenient access to speed control. Maybe they just thought you were going to set it in one place and forget about it. But anywho, so fast forward, rewind. This would be 7.5, and this is 3 3/4. So I just learned something about my own tape player. And this is this massive, this is the massive flywheel. In an earlier version, in an early portion of this series of videos, I had to clean this because it was very rusty and very nasty, and I really didn't want the rubber tires running on that. I'm just kind of looking at it to see, because I looked at it when I cleaned it, but I don't remember, I don't think I took a close look at it since then. So it looks like the only portion of this surface here is along the top here, because this is the only tire that comes in contact with that. So, anyway, that's a pretty good sized flywheel. It's not super hefty, but I've never noticed that this thing suffered from severe wildwood flutter. This seems to be a very well made unit. I'm still kind of wondering, and I told myself I was going to look into the history of stereo, because I'm trying to figure out where this fell in that history. This is mono, which I finally figured out. It took me way too long. So if this were built when stereo was around, then that would lead me to believe this is a less expensive unit. If, however, if mono was the only thing available when this was built, I would say this was a higher end portable reel-to-reel. Again, I don't know where this falls in the hierarchy of high and low quality, but judging from how this thing is built, it's just amazing. The fact that you can play it either way, and I'm going to actually experiment. I want to experiment with this because I am curious to see if I can record in both directions. Because one of the things I've run into is, if I put tapes on here that were not recorded on this, I can only play them in one direction. If I play them in the other direction, I can hear it, but it's running backward, of course. Rather interesting. It sounds very strange. So I'm just kind of curious to see. I mean, the convenience about being able to go either way is no matter which way you put your tape on here, you'll be able to play it without having to flip the tape, which I guess is nice. But that feature leads me to believe this is probably a more expensive unit. I don't think it's high end, but I don't think it's low end either, not judging by the way this is put together. But anyway, those are my rambling thoughts on this. What else did I want to go over with this? I'm not sure if there's anything else I needed to do. This is a shorter summary of much more video I did on this, because I just realized I didn't want this to become another super long video, and I wasn't sure that it really made sense. I mean, you didn't really need to see me putting this on here to know what I was doing. Basically all I did was I cut a piece of this stuff, I wrapped around here, and then shaped it so that hopefully get a piece of metal on there. Where'd you come from? Something's on there anyway. I don't want you there. There we go. Alright. Was that the better way? Oh yeah, that's the better way. Go the opposite direction. Okay, and that would come off easier. So, there's a lot about this thing that is not designed for servicing. But as long as you don't have to take the thing out of the case, there's a lot of things you can get to that a lot of things you can get to right from here, like these drive tires, which I guess these are wear items. I'm going to put the top panel on there briefly, because the tape can unspool a little bit from the take-up reel. So I'd rather not have it dropping down into the mechanism. It's just a pain in the neck, and I really don't want grease getting spread around on my tapes. Now, I already know that the front edge of this will ride against the pulley. So what I want to do, though, you notice how I'm using, how I'm rotating that around, which is what you would want to do when you are loading your tape. Oh boy, this looks pretty tired. Get in there. It works better when the plastic pieces are in place, guiding the tape where you want it. Alright. So I like to just throw a little loop in the tape. Throw it in there. Does it help? I don't know. There. Okay. Now, let's see if I got it or not. Turn this on. Now this is the side that's tended to work properly. Now here's a test of this clutch. Actually, interesting. So let's see what happens when I do this. Now this is very difficult for the recorder to do. because you've got a full reel trying to pull from this little reel, and that's high resistance. And if this were healthier, this would probably be faster. But this has been my first test of this ailing clutch that I supposedly repaired. And it works. Probably not as well as it did when it was new, but it works. Okay, I wanted to show you this thing playing before I wrap this up. This is a tape that was done via microphone from a record, an LP that somebody was playing. Can't play much of it. It's an Emmylou Harris song, and they will definitely snag this. But I want to give you an idea of what this thing could do, and I don't even know. I don't know if this is the tape player that recorded this or not. I am going to experiment with, as I find a mic that I can use with this, I am going to experiment recording this, and I may also see if I can record directly from a line level input. It's got an input, I'm sure that's mic level. I do have a way to adjust the level coming into this so that it would be tolerable by this. I'm just curious to see how this thing records. My Pioneer, unfortunately, the record head on it is dead. You try to record anything on it and it sounds pretty poor. I was just kind of interested to see how this one would do. 60 years old, the playback head seems pretty good. Of course it is on my Pioneer too, but anyway. That's probably about all I dare play. But it's not the best quality, whatever this was recorded on, but it sounds surprisingly good. This seems like it was a pretty decent unit in its day, based on what I'm hearing. There's another tape which I actually am doing. I'm actually digitizing that one that has a lot of the hits from 1987, 88. My wife asked me if I would put that in a format she could listen to, and so I've been doing that. The quality on that, I'm thinking that one was directly recorded off from, I don't even know what, but whatever it was recorded from, or onto rather, I believe that was a direct connection between, I don't know if it's an LP, it didn't entirely sound like that, but in any case, but the quality on that is superb. Get dust everywhere on this thing. Anyway, the quality played through this is really surprising. It doesn't compare, unfortunately, to the quality that I get from my Pioneer, but then the Pioneer is much newer and much more expensive. My Pioneer, which was my uncle's before he passed away, is selling now, I've seen some sell for $450. I don't know what they cost originally, back when they were new. They could be $1,000, but it could have been $1,000 thereabouts. So when you compare this with that newer technology, probably much more expensive comparatively than this, this thing stands up surprisingly well. And this does have an external amp and a speaker output on it. So if you're not happy with this little speaker, you can hook this into a better speaker and get even better quality sound out of it. Or you could feed this into another amp and get better quality sound through that. This is a surprisingly nice little unit. For a portable unit, it's pretty neat. You can play in either direction. It was fun though. I tried to, where did I put that? I have this, but it says full dimensional stereo, and yes, you only get one track and part of another when you play it on this, so you don't get what I call quality sound. But if you listen to that, and you get the tape headed in the right direction, the clarity and crispness that you get off of that thing, pretty amazing. I wish I had thought to play around with this recording wise, but I didn't. But I'm not going to I'm going to wrap up here, because at this point I'm done. On reels this size, this thing behaves beautifully. It behaves like brand new. If you have a full size reel and it's full on this side and you're trying to pull off from this one, it does it, but it's still not up to par. Still not sure why, even though this clutch seems like it's got more resistance than this one, why it's not. I'm just curious. Oh, I can't because it's moving the motor. I was going to see if I could tell about the clutch, but I can't. So anyway, I'm wrapping up here. If you watched to this point, thank you, and hopefully I'll see you on my next video.